ولا تخزني يوم يبعثون يوم لا ينفع مال ولا بنون إلا من أتى الله بقلب سليم.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So there's good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? Bad? Why is it always that people choose bad? Good? I want to go with the good. So the good that we're around 4 pages towards the end of the introduction of the book called invocation, called Al-Wabil Al-Sayyib. So that's the good. What's the bad? The bad is that you're going to have an exam as the introduction finishes. So
written or verbal? Written or verbal?
Written.
Price is money?
We'll see the prizes, but not money, because money will be a lot, something symbolic most probably. Grapes, yes. So we'll put some prizes. Yes, we could put some prizes on that, inshallah. So we'll have an exam. The exam will be mostly, inshallah, as much as possible, mostly multiple choice and mostly multiple choice. I might put other questions than multiple choice or not. I'll think about that, do istikhara, because I don't know if I'll be able to read your handwriting or not. So it's
in different languages.
Yes. So I might not be able to read the handwriting. So this we'll see, inshallah. But there is an exam when we finish the book, inshallah, which is hopefully soon, inshallah. Okay. So we had a very long discussion about what happens when a good deed gets annulled. And Ibn Qayyim said that his opinion, after having studied this issue for a long time, is that good and bad deeds are competing, and whoever outperforms the competitor wins, more or less. So if good deeds are more powerful, more numerous, much more in quantity, they will win over the bad deeds, and the other way around. If the bad deeds are more powerful and the good deed is weak, and it won't win. This is how he perceives it. So after we do a sin, it's not enough to stand up and get the dirt off our clothes. We also need to do good deeds. You get some good deeds to push out this sin. And to give the example of a piece of ink, a drop of ink in a cup, an empty cup. If you put so much water, it would be as though this piece of ink never was in the cup. Okay? And as much as you have ink in the cup, relatively you need to put water. So the more ink you have, the more water you need to put to make the ink negligible. This is how you should be thinking about sins. All this was, as I said, Ibn Qayyim just drifts off sometimes. He gets caught up in the topic and he likes it, and he has some insights in it. Allah Azza wa Jal opens up to him some insights. He doesn't hold these insights back. He just gives them to the reader. Okay? So this is Ibn Qayyim. What was he initially talking about? He was talking about good deed annulment in order to tell us that not focusing on the soul of the worship. It was all about the soul of the worship. Focusing on the essence of the worship. Not giving Allah Azza wa Jal, offering to Allah Azza wa Jal a prayer without a soul. This was the essence of the thing. Offering the prayer with a soul is one way you show veneration of the commandments of Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is the original topic. The original topic was venerating the commands of Allah Azza wa Jal. Venerating is thinking that these are great, believing that these are great commands, and so on and so forth. We've explained the meaning before. So signs of veneration for the one who prohibits. So it's now veneration for the prohibitions, not the commandments. Allah Azza wa Jal, His rules are either prohibitions or commandments. He was talking about commandments like salah, prayer, like fasting, like hajj, all the commandments, okay? Like birr al-walidain, like doing good to parents. All these are commandments. These are things we've been commanded to do. The other side is prohibitions, things we're prohibited from doing. How do we show Allah Azza wa Jal that we are venerating these prohibitions? The signs of veneration for the prohibitor or the prohibition in general include taking care to avoid places and situations where prohibited things are present. Okay? So you don't necessarily need to go to an onsen, a public one. This is a place where bad things are going on. Okay? You don't necessarily need to go to a beach while people are there, because also it's not a nice place to be in while people are there in the beach. And you can think of all sorts of places or situations in which Allah is being defied at this specific point in time. Try not to be there at this specific point in time. Okay? So places and situations. This is a sign that you are venerating the prohibitor. This is a sign that you are venerating the prohibitor. When you're just in these places and so on and so forth, it seems like you don't give much care. I don't want to use another word. Okay? About these prohibitions taking place around you. It's none of your business. It doesn't bother you. Actually, it should be bothering you. It should be bothering you that Allah Azza wa Jal is being defied. As such, you shouldn't be present in such places. So one thing is avoiding places and situations where these prohibited things are done. Also avoid their causes and whatever invites to them. So actually no, the sentence is in a different way. Include taking care to avoid places and situations where prohibited things, their causes and whatever invites to them are found. So as we said before, if you are a person that has a problem with smoking, just don't spend lots of time among smokers. If you've just quit smoking for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, because you know that smoking is prohibited, just don't stick around smoking. Don't go to the places that invite you to smoking. Don't go to the places that stimulate smoking in you. If there are specific places that remind you of smoking or remind you of the pleasure you used to have while smoking, do not go to these places. So not only places in which smoking takes place, but also places that remind you of smoking and so on and so forth. And you can think of such things. So whatever sin you know, and then a specific place or situation invites you to this specific sin, don't go to this place. I'll give you a more difficult example, difficult to apply, okay? But then I'll also put it with limitations that make it applicable. So, in this country and in other countries all over the world, almost all countries around the world, markets are not the best places. Markets in general, shopping centers and markets are not the best places. Usually, Allah Azza wa Jal is not being venerated in these places. These are not places of worship. They're usually places of other things. Okay? Some streets in this city and in other cities and almost all cities around the world are not the best of places. So as much as possible, try to avoid these places. As much as possible, try to avoid these places. This is a sign of venerating Allah Azza wa Jal. Yet, you might have some need to get done from this specific place. At least avoid the times in which these specific places are not at their best. Okay? Avoid these times. These are all signs of veneration. So, as much as possible, totally avoid these places. But then again, we have to go to shopping centers to buy some things we need. We have to go to specific streets that certain agencies are open there that are not open elsewhere, and so on and so forth. So, as much as possible, do not go. If you go in the correct time. And when you go in the correct time, just go there while venerating Allah Azza wa Jal. While venerating that you are going to such a place. Okay? So this is one sign. Another sign, it also entails avoiding all the means by which they are approached. Again, he's giving examples: fleeing from places which have forms that lead to temptation out of fear of being tempted by them, discarding something harmless in itself as a precaution against something else which is harmful. We gave an example, so he's just elaborating it in different words. So something in itself is harmless. In itself is harmless. I'll give you deeper examples. So using the computer is harmless. Using the computer is harmless. But you might avoid using the computer alone, while being alone, for specific reasons that are known. Okay? So you, as much as possible, use the computer while in the company of others. While sitting in the library, sitting in a workplace, sitting in a public place. As such, you'll be using... So it's not wrong to use the computer alone. But using the computer alone can lead to wrong things. So as such, do not use it alone. And so on and so forth. You can, again, I'm trying to give you examples to open up your mind, but you get the essence of the thing. It's about avoidance. It's about dropping some things that are harmless for other things that are harmful. Also, we talk about halal food here. So I come from a country, most of you come from such countries, in which everything is halal more or less. Maybe Malaysia is not as such. Malaysia has both halal and haram, but it's very evident, and there's abundance of halal things everywhere, and it's not a problem. Usually in our countries, it's not a big... Is anybody not from such a country? I think no. So usually in our countries, it's not a big deal. In non-Muslim countries, it's a big deal. Halal food is a big deal. It's not easy. So you've been living here. I'm not living here. I'm coming here for a short time, and you get this feeling of you can't really buy, especially me that I don't know anything. I don't know Japanese. I don't know. So in the supermarkets, I'm like, I just can't buy anything. It's this feeling. Actually, I am leaving lots of things that are halal because I don't know. So I'm leaving lots of things that are harmless because it might be, I might be consuming something harmful in the end. I don't know. Okay? This is in Islam called wara. Wara, that's the Arabic word. They translate it as righteousness, but I don't believe it's righteousness. Righteousness is the bigger term about being good in general. I don't really know how it translates, and I think there are lots of words in Arabic. Actually, this meaning just came to me when I came to Japan. I didn't ever think about this concept that I'm going to tell you now. Actually, I was thinking about it while coming in the car. That some words simply cannot be translated. You just simply have to tell some stories and give some examples, and then this is the way this meaning comes across. I've always been in situations, so the Western culture, it's already permeating every single media possible. So West is in, Hollywood is very strong. Hollywood is all over the place, and if it's not Hollywood, it's Pixar or Disney, and if it's not Pixar or Disney, it's something else. So the West is all over. And the West somehow were capable of getting all their terms across. I think they've managed to do that. And movies are transliterated, and so it's like they've managed to get all their terms across. In general, I know two languages, Arabic and English. I think I know the Western culture to a great extent because I've been exposed to it throughout my life in Egypt, not outside of Egypt. Also, I've lived a long time in the West, in the UK. Japan is my first exposure to a completely different country with a completely different language that I don't understand totally, I don't understand at all. And trying to understand the culture, and they come reading books and dealing with people and so on and so forth. I started meeting terms in the books. They say that this term doesn't have a translation. In order to explain to you, we have to tell you some examples and. Now thinking about Arabic and talking to non-Muslims or talking to somebody that doesn't understand, for example, Arabic, I think that there are such Arabic words that they cannot be translated in the end. One of them is haya. Haya. So they do shyness. It's not shyness. Some say it's bashfulness. It's not bashfulness. You have to look up the meaning of bashfulness in the dictionary to know what's bashfulness. But it's not anything of these. Because it's not it doesn't entail any weakness. It's a strong trait. It's a strong attribute. Al-Haya'u shu'batun min al-Iman. Al-Haya is a branch of Iman, of faith. So it's actually something, and the translation would do it always harm. The translation would always do it harm. I think we need to in order to explain such terms is simply to give lots of examples and stories. Of course, stories are better than examples, but I'm not good at stories. I'm very good at examples and analogies and metaphors. This is my specialty. I'm not good at stories. I can make up stories, but I'm not good at like remembering stories and telling them. So the point here is that wara' is it doesn't have a translation. It's this act of leaving halal, leaving a thing that is permitted, because there is a doubt that it is haram. Okay? Of course, it's not a very open thing, like we could then leave anything that's halal. We could leave everything that's halal, feeling that it's haram, right? Taking this concept openly. It's not this way. As the doubt that it's haram increases, wara' becomes more and more encouraged until it becomes at a specific point in time what? Obligatory. So in Japan, I think wara' in food might be actually obligatory. Okay? It's not something encouraged. In another country, maybe it would be encouraged, highly encouraged. Maybe in a country like Turkey, for example, Saudi Arabia, wara' would be discouraged because you'd be like trying to find the problem in everything. There is no problem there. So this is a bit on wara', and this is again explaining how you venerate prohibitions. Avoiding things which are unnecessary but permitted. So this is also around the meaning of wara'. Out of fear of engaging in things which are reprehensible. Reprehensible here translated as makruh. That means that reprehensible is disencouraged. Disencouraged. So the point here being, if something is unnecessary but permitted, but engaging in it might lead to something, even makruh, even disencouraged, you shouldn't do it. Like this, you're venerating the prohibition. I would actually tell you something. Prohibition here is not haram per se. Prohibition here is something that Allah Azza wa Jal commanded you not to do. This command can be haram or disencouraged. It has two layers. One of the signs of venerating the prohibitor, Allah Azza wa Jal, who said no, don't do, whether this no, don't do is haram or makruh. So did you get what I'm saying or not? So there's Allah Azza wa Jal says don't do X. This don't do X. This means that X is either haram, you will take a sin if you do it, or makruh, you won't take a sin for doing it, but you will take a sin, you will take a hasana for not doing it. So actually, it will be a good thing if you don't do it. So this is makruh. Venerating the prohibitor actually entails not looking at this distinction. And venerating the commander entails not looking at this command. When the Prophet ﷺ took a red garment of a companion and told him, do not wear it, this companion didn't ask, do not wear it, do you mean it's haram or makruh? Okay? So fuqaha, our fiqh scholars, defined whether it's haram or makruh. It's important to do that. I'm not saying it's not important to do that. I'm not negating a history, a heritage of 1,400 years of Muslim scholarship. I'm not negating that. I'm just telling you that this companion wanted the higher grade regardless. So the higher grade is what? Is not to do this. This is the higher grade. This is a sign of venerating the prohibitor. Also have a similar instance about the gold ring, and also these companions didn't ask, radiallahu anhu, didn't ask, is this makruh or haram? That's not the question. Of course, some scholars said that for them it was haram, because you can't possibly imagine the Prophet ﷺ telling you to not wear a specific color, and then you wearing it. It's not comprehensible. Maybe another companion could wear it, but this specific companion, it's not comprehensible that after the Prophet ﷺ himself tells him not to wear this, it's not comprehensible that he does it. So this is how scholars, by the way, work out the different rulings for things. They think about all these things. But again, we are talking about signs of veneration. Signs of veneration. Again, these are signs of veneration. The important thing is the veneration in the heart. But once you start doing these actions a lot, veneration will come to the heart. So for example, when you go into a place with very loud music and you like, actually this music you like, this specific music you liked from your previous days, this specific music that's in the but you make yourself as if you severely dislike it. You put on a face, put your head in the ground, and you give yourself this tense look and put yourself into the mood, I want to get out of this place as fast as possible. Okay? Now, veneration is nurtured into the heart. It's like you're giving it water. You're pouring water into it. You're nurturing the veneration. Veneration will start to grow in your heart. Eventually, every single thing that you made up will become your reality. Scholars talked about how does a greedy person turn into a generous person. By what? By making up generosity. By making up being generous. So they would pay money whilst not wanting to pay money. So a generous person pays money genuinely. He does charity and donation genuinely. He gives his time, effort, and he gives the things he likes genuinely from all his heart. He wants to do that. The greedy person doesn't want to do that. How could he turn his heart the other way? By pushing himself the other way around, pushing the other trait. Okay? So this is how practically we get to venerate. Avoiding things, okay. It includes avoiding people who talk about committing sin. Avoiding people who talk about committing sin, or avoiding them in situations. Here, for example, in this country specifically, people do not talk about all the things in the same. So they could talk about things while drunk that they don't talk about while sober, while being not drunk. So if they only talk about the bad things while being drunk, then just make sure you're not around them while they're drunk. You could be around them while they're sober, and so on and so forth. So it's very situational. So people who talk about committing sin, extol it, invite to it, belittle it, or pay no heed to it. For to mix with such people is to invite divine anger, and no one would do so unless the veneration of Allah had left his heart. Another sign of veneration for Allah is for the servant to feel anger when Allah's sanctity is abased. I have to look for it in Arabic right now. Give me a second. It's too strong. Abased. So when Allah's, it's a difficult term in Arabic, that's why he translated it this way, but it has a bit of symbolic. So Allah Azza wa Jal sets certain things as limits of human beings. Human beings shouldn't be doing this. Okay? انتهكت محارمه. This is the Arabic. انتهكت محارمه. This is the Arabic word. So this is his nose. When somebody commits these nose with an open heart, this is more or less this expression. Okay? Commit them, gives no damn to them. That's the meaning, more or less. So what should a person do in such a case? To experience sadness and lowliness in his heart when Allah is disobeyed on his earth, and when his rule and commandments are not kept, although the servant himself can do nothing to change that. So if you can do nothing to change that, at least right now, you should feel this sadness and lowliness in the heart. But final thing is that one of the signs of veneration of the prohibitor is to work hard to gradually stop these prohibitions from being committed, which means engaging in da'wah, in long-term da'wah. This is one of the signs of veneration of the prohibitor. It's not simply to hate this by the heart. That's not enough, because hating by the heart should fuel work to stop, work that is wise, gradual, long-term. This is a must. And this is a sign of prohibition. And when you actually act and engage in such work, you are also venerating the prohibitor. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.